obviously online gaming communities and real life relationships. It goes different ways every time, so I see a lot of you come back, both at PAX and PAX East. And there's obviously a reason why you keep coming back. So give you a quick introduction to the panelists. I'll let everybody say a little something about themselves, and we're just going to go wild, and we'll have a little Q&A at the end, and we'll go from there. So to my direct left is Alexis, Tart, Hebert-Ruiz, or Alex, or I don't know. She goes by a million names. She's the community manager for Xbox Live Arcade and PlayXBLA.com. To her left, your right, is John Weasel Long, who is the social media manager at Seagate. Formerly doing all kinds of crazy shit in EA. That's an understatement. To his left is Will Raczilla Kinsler, who you probably know from the games. Then we have Faith Phoenix Harrison, who is the Rooster Teeth Expo event guru and former biz dev for the Frag dolls. And last but not least, without a cute little gamer tag nickname, it's James Stevenson from Insomniac Games, and he is the community marketing lead. So we're going to be kind of jumping all over the place here, but I'll let everybody say a little bit about what they do, and then we'll go from there. We'll kind of work our way back the other way. If you want to start, James?
Sure. Hi, I'm James, as I was just introduced and framed by Weasel here.
Hi, James.
Hi, James. Everybody should say that.
Hi, James. Hi, my name's James. I'm the community manager. So yeah, I kind of do all sorts of outreach-related things at Insomniac, where we made Resistance and Ratchet & Clank, and we're working on a bunch of new stuff now. And that involves kind of everything from social media like Twitter, Facebook, to forums, to our community days, which I help put on and kind of organize and run the show on, and then also dealing kind of with all the other outreach things, trailers and stuff we send out. So any sort of thing that's going out to you guys is stuff that I kind of have my hands on.
Is it my turn now?
Yep.
I'm Faith. I am a retired Frag doll, but now heading up business development for Rooster Teeth and Rooster Teeth Expo, which is our new awesome convention that's happening July 7th to the 8th at the Awesome Convention Center. But I basically, behind the scenes now, was on the Frag doll side. I did everything from community game nights, everything and any aspect of our Frag dolls was based around our community. So pretty much 95% of my friends are from gaming and the communities.
I'm Will Kinsler.
Hi, Will.
Hi, everyone. I'm the community manager at Epic Games. So I'm in charge of pretty much any place that you could possibly want to reach out and get in touch with us, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, forums, blogs. What else is there now? Or MySpace. MySpace. Prior to that, I was at EA Sports, worked on a lot of the sports games, doing similar things for several years. And before that, I used to run my own online gaming community, and that's kind of how I got into the business. Show off.
Hi, I'm John.
Hi, John.
I still love it. I'm the social media manager for Seagate, which is probably like the one thing that's not gaming related on this panel. But before that, I was the community manager at EA and online marketing manager at EA, working on almost every EA title except FIFA and Madden at some point in life because we had him, so he didn't beat me. Yeah, that's about the size of it.
Hi, I'm Awesome.
Hi, Awesome.
So awesome. Actually, Alex. I am the community manager over PlayXBLA.com, which is the home for all Microsoft Studios Xbox Live Arcade titles, as well as Windows Phone and eventually Windows 8. Basically anything digital download published by Microsoft Studios. So I had the pleasure of launching PlayXBLA.com back in October, and from there we've been building a home landing place for all of our arcade fans and evangelists. So it's been a fun ride so far, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Nice. And last but not least, I am Nolan. I'm co-founder.
Hi, Derek.
Sorry guys. I do obviously started for the same reasons why anyone that's ever played on Xbox Live knows. I also do a weekly podcast called Total Tech Radio, which is gaming news and basically industry reporting for geared toward that sort of audience, which obviously most people in here seem to be, or at least close to. Basically founded the community 7 years ago, and we're kind of 30,000 members strong and growing all the time. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of jump around some topics here, and everybody here obviously is coming to this from a different angle, whether it's where I'm coming from, which is a community for gamers in a certain demographic, versus working for a company and working in community outreach or community management there, or coming into the gaming industry via community management or via a fan site. So we have all that sort of stuff going on here. So great mix. So I guess we'll start off, and if anyone wants to jump in, and I'm kind of looking probably at Will Kinsler on this, but your first gaming communities and how that's kind of segued into where you are today.
Yeah, sure. So I started out probably 8 or 9 years ago. First gaming community I visited was one called MaddenMania.com. So I'm a big sports gaming fan. I was just looking for some information about the game, and around that time, Madden had just been able to be played online, which sounds kind of crazy now, but yeah. So I was looking basically just for people to play with, and through that, I met a lot of people. I started getting involved with things like online leagues, and eventually started working on my own website. And so really it was just something that I was doing for fun. I didn't anticipate that it was going to lead to me having a career in the games industry. That was something that never even occurred to me, something that I didn't think of. And through running that site, we started to have people at EA reach out to us, like John Long here, who was one of the community guys at the time. And they were, we built a relationship with those guys. They started doing things like inviting us out to community day events, which was something I'd never even heard of. And all of a sudden, these guys were paying us all this attention. It felt pretty good to us, that we were kind of being recognized for what we were doing. And through that, I kind of started thinking, maybe this is something that I could actually do. Position opened up at the EA Tiburon studio about 5 or 6 years ago. I went ahead and applied to it, and have been working in the industry ever since.
Now, as far as how, Faith, you also have another interesting story of how you got into
I guess I was in college pretty much, and the Xbox came out, and I started to get addicted and stopped going to class and just started to play video games all the time. I remember back in the day when Halo 1, when you were trying to hook up to your computer through Xbox Connect, and you were like, yes, I'm online, even though you're totally lagging out. But I'd say my first community experience was on Unreal Championship on Xbox Live. I think Xbox Live opened me up to everything community related. Just opened it up to a whole new world. That's when I joined my first clan. That's when I got into competitive gaming. Then I started in MLG, and then met the Frag Dolls, and then joined the Frag Dolls. And then after that, 4 years later, just joined Rooster Teeth, and just keep on going. It's really your community, being in part of the community. If you really want to go after it, you just go for it. But it's pretty awesome, I have to say. We get to be kids for life.
Yeah, some people work for a living and some people work for fun, and I think it's really nice to be able to work for fun. When I started, it was, I came kind of from the journalism side, so it was a bunch of different kind of news gaming sites, and I was back on Gaming Age forums when there were still Gaming Age forums before the became NeoGAF, and it was a very wild west world, but kind of being in that, I think there was a great time period back then when kind of the internet was forming. I think Xbox Live was kind of the same thing, where there continues to be these new communities cropping up, and there's just tons of opportunity in those realms.
Now, James, you're going to have some strange community stuff this year where coming from being a PlayStation shop to dipping the Xbox world, your community's about to explode with a whole new subset of people.
That, and then with a Facebook game coming too.
That's
so
true.
It's kind of it's very scary, and exciting all at the same time because we're going from one group of people and adding a lot of new people who are very different, but you know, in the end, all the same. Everyone's a gamer, but you know, very different approaches to it. So it's kind of one of those exciting challenges we're facing this year.
Yeah, and the other thing you notice is obviously it's a very ancestral industry where everybody's worked with everybody, everybody's met somebody through somebody else. And then John Mom, when you were at EA, you were Will's boss?
No.
You were,
Another guy was actually Will's boss. Mike was your boss technically.
Yep.
Yeah, but I sat in the interview process and knew everything. Oh, sorry, thanks. I knew everything that was going on and knew who they were looking at and stuff like that. So just because I was still involved on the community side, I just got to sit down on the rounds and stuff. And I was like, no, don't hire this guy. Nobody listened to me, and you know that was that. So yeah.
And then you took your community experience from there, and you went and you kind of brought in more the social media side.
Yeah. So
took it into a job, some place that people don't usually see as a gaming.
yeah, not at all. Because like one of the things that was kind of great about being on that side is things like Twitter and Facebook were really starting to take off then. So it was just me, Will, and a few other people that were really pushing the Twitter thing, and the company was like, no, we don't want to get behind that, and we started just doing more and more of that stuff just on our own and under legal radar.
Yeah.
That really just kind of started making people pay much more attention to it.
I remember when first kind of caught on to Twitter because our friend Mike, who was my boss, he's like, you gotta check this site out. And I'm like, the only two people on there that I know are you and John Long. And so like at the beginning it felt kind of like, why am I here just talking to you? There's nobody else here.
Which is great. It became like our own IM, it's just like, hey, Will, check out this, or whatever. But then it just started kind of really growing more and more, and as more people found out what we did and where we were, that's how we started getting much more followers and much more traction at it, and it just became another community outlet of evangelism for what we were doing.
Yeah, I think that's one key thing that we see here with everybody. Like Alex, obviously you did terminal reality. You were there for doing community stuff.
I actually served in a production and a community capacity there, and then when I actually met my husband because of Faith when we were fractals together, which I met, Faith through the MLG circuit. Yeah, in a nutshell, I basically wanted nothing to do with him the night we were out. Faith's like, you're cute, here's her number. And like the next morning I woke up and I was like, who is Jerry? Faith's like, that's a hot guy, you're going out with him. And I was like, oh my God.
That's what we were practicing actually for MLG too.
I was like, I hate you. And then now we're married. So I mean, in addition to getting an opportunity in the industry, I began a community, and then when I went to Terminal Reality, I started as community manager, but for a small indie dev, it wasn't really a day-to-day sort of necessity. And so, as far as they didn't want to have forums or anything like that, so I was like, well, I want something to do. I'm going to produce stuff. And they're like, here's Rapstar. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I learned to really get into the whole development side, and then eventually it was Connect Star Wars, and then I came over to Microsoft before that was done. But it's not only enabled me to make new friendships, but it's enabled me to learn new avenues within the game development process, the industry, and what's out there, and what goes behind everything. So now it helps me in my day-to-day, whether it's content pipeline or something of that nature. When I go and ask one of our developers for a screenshot, I now know what it takes. If I'm like, well, can you relight this set, or can you add a rock? Like, I know what I'm asking for on a production capacity as well. So, our development partners are like, oh my God, I get an email from this chick again. She has one of the most impossible stuff. Like, and so I feel like it all really helps to tie in with whatever, avenue you end up taking. You can apply all of those aspects at the end of the day to do your job better.
Yeah. Now, Alex mentioned friendships, and obviously, one, we're all here. We all know various people here, and we didn't always know them in person, but we met them somewhere else first. And usually, it's segued out of our communities or out of events, or like as you're seeing between the slides with everybody's names. Everybody's got these community events, or like for Tool to Play, we host an annual LAN every year in Chicago, and it's one of those places where you take that friendship that you've either made in your community or as kind of an offshoot of your community from Twitter or from Facebook or from some other medium, or just even Xbox Live. Like the guy that I started Tool to Play with, I met first playing Halo 2, and then it was those little 14-year-old kids friendships that spurred the creation of Tool to Play. And I never met him in person until we run a website together for a year and a half. So it's those kind of friendships now that everybody here has.
It's like your first. It's like
Yeah.
your first time. The first time you ever met somebody online or in person from online. I mean, I remember my first time with Xander 13. He was going to U of O. I was like, Xander, come down, let's hang out. This is my freshman year of college, and I was like, whoa. It was y'all's first time. It's okay. We can share.
I think mine was actually at a Madden community event. It was like Madden 05, probably community event where it was not only meeting the people, people from online for the first time, but also was meeting like the people that I actually ran my site with for the first time. And so like we've been collaborating for like a year or something like that. The people that we're talking to, every single day, and then to be able to meet them for the first time at an event like that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was E3 2002, which was my first E3 now, 10 years ago. And we had the guys I was running my site with, there were 6 of us staying in, I think it was 6 of us staying in one hotel room where they didn't have any double rooms left, so we had a room with a king bed and a sleeper sofa. And I think there's 3 people in the bed and 3 people in the sleeper sofa, which was terrible, but
Yeah. Oh, we all remember those days. The first time I got my own hotel room, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm a grown up now. And then I'm like sitting there like, what do I do now? I'm like, I clean this corner. Oh wait, I'm talking myself. I miss everybody in my room.
I can't think of my first time, and that sounds really dirty.
I don't get it.
I'm trying to remember. And maybe it's a little different because I've always been on the industry side versus on the community crossover side. So like, I don't, Elaine, I don't remember the first time we met vaguely. I just know you've always been there. Same with Ross. Hamza probably a little bit more because it's been within the last 5 years or so. Yeah, see, and look, I mean, after,
Wait, you know Hamza?
yeah, see,
What?
who doesn't, right?
That's my boy right there, too.
After a while, they just kind of blend together, and it's just, these are just people that are in your life, and you don't really think about the how and when and all that kind of stuff. It's just my I am list has been the same since almost 96, 97, and it just gets longer and longer and longer to the point where if I don't rename that person, I have no idea who, Sexy Muppet 415 might be.
Oh yes, you do.
There was that one time in band camp, but
Now, are any of you surprised at the way that these friendships that you've made with people that maybe you've never met and then met online, how they compare to friendships where you met someone in a bar, you met someone in college, or friends that you met through normal routes versus the community route?
I think all of my friends I met online.
I think me too.
I mean, and even and I'll take that a step further. To this day, one of the people I used to run that site with, and another guy who worked with us, and like the 3 of us, we all now live in LA. None of us lived in LA at the time, and we all do completely different stuff. But like, those are my 2 best friends, and so like they're not even in the games industry anymore or do anything related to games. But I mean, most of the people I talk to all day when I'm at work, like most of the people when I'm online, Twitter, GChat, like most of my friends I met online, I think besides my family. And besides maybe people I work with at
It's kind
Insomniac.
of messed up if you met your family online.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's lol? Hi. Kissy emoticon.
I think for me personally now, it's, when you're in the industry, that's when you start meeting, you're coming to all these events and stuff like that, so you're meeting a lot of people through networking. But pretty much most of my friends, I guess once I got into college and stuff like that, I'd say about 99% of my friends have been online through gaming or social media, through communities, and now are my best friends in the whole world. It's really awesome.
One thing I'd say too is I think I meet a lot of people face to face the first time, like here or E3 or something, but then I really develop a relationship with them online.
Yeah.
That's like where a lot of the friendship forms, because you might hang out, you might meet someone briefly, and then you start kind of talking on Twitter a little bit, maybe like, hey, this person's cool, maybe end up chatting on IM about other shit because
Create a hangout and
right, yeah, and a bunch of people talking, so I might meet people for the first time here, but a lot of those kind of really good friendships that I have are sort of online friendships. friendships where that's where we talk most of the time because we live in different cities or we're all busy working and things like that.
Well, I think it encourages a level of communication that could be somewhat similar to a book versus a movie and something. You know, when you read the book first, it's typically the movie isn't great, and the way I feel that compares is that you have a lot more interaction with that book. You're reading the words, you're, you know, involving yourself, and so, you know, and the movie is more like if you meet someone at a bar and you guys, there's other distractions going on, you're having beers, you're talking to other people, but when you're having that personal communication online, you're typing, and then you're writing, and your sense of humor and your sense of writing and just your personality really shines just through your written communication with that other person, and it's a one-on-one conversation that can be carried at your own pace. You're not just sitting across the table from someone for the first time and you're like, what's your favorite color? Smiley face.
Much creepier that way.
I've done that.
That'd be better if I maybe have done that. I mean, not, you know, if I saw it in a movie and actually do it.
Now, for you guys that where you're in a community role and you're meeting these people, and so part of it you're making friendships with these people, but the other part you're representing. Like I represent Tool to Play, but I can tell, you know, I don't really give a shit what people think of me. So I kind of come out of it.
I know we're reasons you don't have to care what people think. Before, not so much.
That's what I'm wondering is there something that you have to kind of hold back, or can you just kind of that's a really good sign.
I had that. I mean, just coming from Ubisoft, then going to Rooster Teeth, and I mean, it actually was really awesome because you learning the whole process right at the beginning, working for a corporate company and knowing that you have to look out for what you put online and being careful about that. Is actually, I'm glad that happened that way because there's so many people I feel like nowadays that are just putting everything out on the internet, and it's like, dude, you're gonna get a job, and that picture of you butt-ass naked on the toilet is not gonna be good to your boss if you don't lie. You know, from like 5 years ago in college. So it definitely, now Rooster Teeth, I mean, at Rooster Teeth, everything and anything Rooster Teeth is all built around their community. Their website's built around community. I mean, half the people that work with Rooster Teeth are from the community. I mean, it's such a, you know, so much crossover right there, but yet, you can go counsel on Twitter, it doesn't matter. It's really exciting.
I think it creates a fine line for sure, or it makes you take a step back as far as like the corporate viewpoint on that is, you know, you're not always going to get along with everybody, and you know, a real strong community is going to encourage a lot of personalities, and if you're able to just kind of snap out and just be like, you know what, I don't like you because you're a stupid face, banhammer, and then, you know, when you, that's right, I'm the boss, like, yeah, you have to be careful because all of a sudden when you work for a corporation, someone will go on their Twitter and be like, Microsoft banned me and they called me a stupid face, and you're like, oh no. So you gotta really think about that, and when you have to step back and take a breath and be like, you know what, that really wasn't that offensive, I'm just having a crappy day, like, I'm gonna go have a cup of coffee, you bring some flavor to the table, and that's awesome. You know, so to me, it's helped me not automatically just be like, oh, you gotta be a jerk, you know, and not allowing that to kind of counsel that person and being like, you know, that kind of came off wrong, like, can we just, you know, avoid this in the future? Can you say please when you tell me to die in a fire? Or, you know, whatever it is, like, please and thank you, maybe? You know, and a warning system and that whole sort of thing, set of rules, makes it easier for you at the end of the day because, you know, if it does get to the point where you're like, you're going to have to be banned. You know you're not just being a jerk. You're not being like, why was I mad at you again? You know, and then in return, it also kind of just gives like a way for you to prove that you've tried to build this community and allows for a lot of different relationships to evolve and bloom, so to speak.
I feel like this part's actually pretty easy for me because I sort of, you know, look at my own social channels in the same way that I think a corporation would, which is that I care about what people think about what I have to say. And so, you know, I think that everybody probably has things that they think that they shouldn't post online. And so it's not just a good look for whatever company you work for, it's probably also a good look for you as well to be positive and you know, stay focused on saying things that make sense and won't give somebody a poor impression of you.
No, that's, I guess from my perspective, it's very different where my community is built up of people from similar demographics. They're there to enjoy and to find other people to meet. So everybody comes in with their own personality. And now you have 30,000 people with conflicting personalities who the only thing they have in common is, hey, we're all over 25. And you start getting a little abrasion in the community. And I think when you're with a corporation, you probably see less of that because you say, okay, everybody here loves gears, and we all have this thing in common. Where that's a much bigger thing in common than just having an age and maturity is questionable. Actually, we say we're for older gamers, we didn't say we're for mature gamers.
I think it can vary. Like, I don't know how much of this audience has been paying attention to the EA worst company. But myself and a couple former EA guys all got into a chat room and were cracking up about it. Not because of, haha, screw you EA or anything like that. We just were like, people were complaining about it. We were looking at the reasons of why people were complaining about it. Really just thought it was funny. It just was really amusing to us going, wow, if these guys knew what on the inside, what must be going on through EA's heads right now, it might be a very, very different conversation. But because none of us are still working there and stuff like that, we can just kind of talk about it freely, but none of us took it outside of that because people know, and people who follow us know that we used to work at EA, and even though I still love the company and love what they do, I'm not going to badmouth them in any capacity, even if I disagree with it. You just always, as the company person, have to put the company first.
Yeah, well, anytime you're in this industry, it's so small.
It just gets back out,
right,
all the time.
And any person that actually works for a company in some sort of public-facing capacity, if you say something bad about something else, like, that can just, even if it doesn't turn into like a big thing, which it can, it's, hi Wes. Even if it doesn't turn into a big bad thing, like, it's still going to get around. People will see it. People at the other developer or publisher that you badmouth will see it, and it's just not something. It's not a long-term sustainable thing to be actually like negatively criticizing things. If you work inside the industry, that's stuff you reserve.
It was for like a WoW pop, the oh my god pop.
Yeah.
Drawing me, draw something with it.
Draw something?
Yeah, that was messed up, and they did it on Twitter.
I think the other thing to keep in mind is that even if you are not socially active for your company, you just still have to be mindful of what you are doing. So like, I know my boss follows my personal account. So I know that between the hours of like 8 and 5, I'll be a little bit more G and PG. And then hopefully by 5:30, I can
Then diesel after dark.
a little more myself. Just, and I know he's not active and stuff like that, but I just know he's there. And I don't want him to, see that one tweet I made about, never mind what that one was about, but something, that little questionable stuff like that. It's just, you always kind of have to be on, especially in social media, because social media does not sleep, like, at all. I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning answering stuff and addressing stuff, and I just don't want anyone to sit there and go, why is it still not answered or addressed?
And it never goes away.
Yeah.
It'll always be there.
Now I know from either comments on Facebook or from Twitter or from calls into my podcast that a lot of the audience here that we have, some people come from, they're running their own communities or starting their own communities, like Too Old to Play or like Will did prior. Some are looking for ways to take a community role in the industry and build up relationships that way. As far as the relationships that we've built up and our roles in our various communities, how has that changed our actual, how we interact with people outside of our communities? Do you think that's a positive change on that, or like I find myself personally, you tend to get into your persona, like, oh, this is the thing, all of a sudden you show up at the office and you think, hey, everybody, I'm DSmooth going on, and who the hell's this guy? So does anybody else have that sort of difficulty separating your community management aspect from your day-to-day lives, whether it's family, friends, or...
I don't think so. I think one thing that I've come across those that I think sometimes I've found that when I meet people in person that their perception of me, based on how I am and speak online is a little bit different. Like I'm probably a little more shy and quiet than people would realize, because it's my job to go out and engage people and I'm actively doing that. And I think people sometimes have a different perception of me, from what they see on Twitter and stuff like that.
I thought you were taller.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense, where it's really easy to type something out, and to type something out all day long, like John, he just never stops. and then he comes here. And he's probably the wildly crazy guy in the panel. So as far as then, if we were to advise people that wanted to kind of take a community and grow it from scratch, or people that are just looking at the industry in general, does anybody have a
Oh gosh,
suggestion?
community is where it's at. I mean, if you show dedication to your community, whatever game industry job that you want, I mean, make the initiative, take the initiative, you know, create a project for them, show them, send it to them in email. I mean, the people that actually go and, you know, take that next step and do something proactive and help somebody out, then those are the people that are getting recognized by the people at the corporate companies that are like, hey, did you see this community member do this? You know, I think maybe we should actually talk to them about bringing them in to help out on the community management side, or, you know, any part of the aspect on any side of the industry, really. Anybody that takes that next step and shows, you know, hey, I really do want this, I'm going to put myself out there, you guys can do it. I mean, it's all possible. You just got to, you know, put your foot forward, first foot forward.
I think that they have that, I don't know what they were calling it, but it's the same where it's like what I do, what my parents think I do. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
And they had one for community management, and it was one, I was like, this is what I do, and they're like doing like a million different things. It's like what my friends think I do, and you're like playing games all day, and what like my boss thinks I do, and you're like moderating forums and like drinking a coffee, and you know, I think that in this case, you know, as community management evolves into a viable position and something that is required with it, just as much as a designer or you know, programmer, to keep in mind that there also is a process behind that. So as you look forward to building your own community, have steps for not only for your reference, but to show that you had thoughts and a process behind building your community. You know, part of it is being able to evolve and adapt to whatever community it is that you're starting. So, you know, you don't just be like, okay, so we're going to post 8 blogs a day, and they're all going to be about the color blue, and then we're going to have a podcast that's an hour long. Well, somebody's like, I want 8 blogs a day, but I would like to be about blue and red. Okay, well then you start, you know, listening to your community, and then you're implementing it, but you're doing it in a fashion that is consistent. You know, people can expect to get, you know, the red blog on Tuesday, the blue blog on Monday, and then they're like, well, your podcast is too long. Shave it down to 30 minutes. Evolve and adapt, but do it in a processed manner, so it's not just all over the place and no one knows what to expect. And at the end of the day, if you're going into a corporation, you can show that you're able to actually complete a process, a timeline, content creation, how you got from point A to point B, and you can, like, you know, list out everything that you've accomplished, and you have a process behind each method of your madness, so to speak.
Yeah, I think being able to build a plan helps. I think it is somewhere where people sometimes get hung up where they don't get the job because that's you know, something that they don't have a lot of experience with or haven't been thinking about. When I applied to Epic Games a little over a year ago, I actually sent them a plan of what I thought I would do before I even started there, which I think helped me. But it's definitely something you need to be able to do. And I think everybody sort of sees the end result a lot of times in the great content stuff and things that people create, but there's also a lot of, you know, planning, and there's strategy and reason why things happen other than, you know, just doing sort of like a lot of one-off ad hoc content.
Well, I think the other thing to keep in mind too is like your reputation is kind of everything at that point as well. I mean, if you're working with a developer or, you know, any sort of community, you never want to do something that compromises their trust and faith in you. If you do that, you know, and you don't want to look back and think, you know, that I never should have cheated a friend and waste the chance that I've been given, because when you do something like that, what?
That was awesome.
I mean, but if you do something like that, like you're permanently soiled, and it'll take a long time to build that back up. And so I would really say, you know, always kind of make sure everything that you're doing with the best intentions, and you're always in the up and up, and you're transparent with what you're doing, because that will take you a long way.
So, just so you don't think I'm completely nuts, James is trying to mix in Wham lyrics as part of his dialogue here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he just kind of rambled you, and that was fantastic. The other thing that no one said yet, it really does come down to a little bit of who you know, right? And networking and being at the right place at the right time and building those relationships is really, really crucial. You know, I always get people saying, hey, I'm looking for somebody who can do this job. Do you know anybody? You know, and I'm like, what state or, you know, city or whatever you need. So it really just comes down to those kind of things. And the longer you're in it, the more that you're visible, and the more that people you see, that just builds that network. I mean, I love LinkedIn, although I don't use it as much as I should, but it's still a great resource. So, you know, keeping those kind of profiles up there and making sure that you're updated, and you know, just being out, coming to these kind of events and just talking with people really is crucial.
And I think like back in the day, man, I remember like some of those IRC channels. Seriously, actually, like if you go look at kind of a who's of gaming journalism, like guys like Patrick Klepek and Mark McDonald. I mean, that was an IRC channel. Like these guys, you know all their names, they're big now, and they were all in the same IRC channel. And if opportunities came up, like it went into that IRC channel, and all of those guys got all the writing opportunities at the time and kind of built their career off of that. I sort of feel like Twitter is that new IRC channel, a very public IRC channel, but it's really this killer opportunity because you can start dialogues with people you never would be able to start a dialogue with. And yeah, you're not going to be able to get serious with them right away. It's kind of like dating in some ways. But if you keep responding with quality comments and things, like your visibility goes up and people will remember as long as you kind of have a cool Twitter feed and a cool perspective.
Yeah, you get that foot in the door, and you take it to exactly like you said, events like this, where either you have your community or you're trying to reach out and build new connections. And you come to an event like PAX, PAX East, or Euro PAX that's coming, and yeah, and our usually the expo, and from there you actually can kind of connect with these people that you may have got your foot in the door via Twitter and establish some kind of communication, but you take that to the next level and you build up those communications. And from there, once those relationships are solid, you can kind of leverage that. And like I see John all the time. You know, there's these new job postings here. And yes, he's like the best Twitter feed for these new jobs.
That's what I do.
I mean, I think, yeah, networking, huge part of the industry. I mean, you don't even know anybody, just walk up and say, hi, I'm so-and-so. Just put your name out there. Again, you can go back on Twitter and ask some questions to people, making sure that, you really think out the question. If you ask, a really good question about the game, then you're probably going to get an answer more than likely than just like, hey, your game sucks, or if you start getting like a negative connotation tied to your Twitter name or your community, username or whatnot, people aren't going to respond to as much. So everything is definitely should be thought out before, putting yourself out there and whatnot, but put yourself out there. Because it really is.
And it's a slow process too. Like
it is. It's a while.
It's a snowball. Like you know one person, and then that person introduces you to one more person, and they both introduce you to another person. It adds up, but it takes time. So like, don't get frustrated.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, it took me like 4 years to build up everyone to meet as many people as I possibly can, and now Rolodex is awesome, and then it becomes a family. You love everybody. I was just using it as
bullshit.
Yeah. But I mean, again, it's like we have Frag cadets, and that's our internship, and those are for girls that are trying to get into the industry. And we have probably about half of them now that are at different studios all over, just trying to introduce them to people who they should talk to and stuff like that, just to help people out. So really, everybody's trying to do something that they're passionate about. And video games is where I know I'm passionate about my video game. How about you guys? Are you?
I hate video games.
I know.
Call them out.
Let your passion take over and meet as many people as you possibly can, because finding that person that's your counterpart, or you want to come up with an idea or brainstorm or anything, there's somebody out there in this world, and the video game industry is probably filled with the most passionate people you can possibly imagine. So, network.
Exactly.
Network.
We can open this up to some questions if anybody has some. I don't think, did we ever get a mic? No? So,
Yeah, just yell really loud.
yeah, if you want to yell a question, point at who, and go ahead. This is the least question. Oh, there we go. Yep, right over here.
Hi there. If you could give each of you a piece of advice for new community managers and people who are just starting up or managing new communities, if there's any experience that you guys have had that you wish someone could have trained you on, what kind of advice would you give?
Who wants to hit this one first?
Will?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair enough. No, it's okay. I think for me, I know that when I started at EA, that I was definitely thrown into the fire, right? I got hired there. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. I was kind of hoping for somebody to tell me what I was supposed to be doing, and then I realized that wasn't ever going to happen. And so, but I think one of the things that I figured out is there was a lot of trial and error. And for everything, you know, that you might be able to get some good advice for, you know, you should expect to make some mistakes and fail. When you do, you want to fail quickly, but I think you also need to recognize that that's part of the process, that there's going to be mistakes, you know, that there's going to be challenges, and that's just sort of growing into those kind of roles, and not to get discouraged by that sort of thing, because it's something that everybody goes through that's in that position.
You know, one of the things I'd say too is like fail. I agree with everything you said, but sometimes communities can be really harsh, and you have to take things personally because they do, but you can't take it personally, if that makes sense. And you kind of have to have a tough skin, and that's really hard when you work on a project for 2 years and you ship it for the holidays, and it's kind of like, you know, last Christmas I gave you my heart, and then the very next day they give it away. It's really, it sucks, but there will be instances like that, and you may ship something that people don't like, or parts of your fan base don't like, and they may really not like it. And you can see that, I mean, it happens to even developers on games that have mid-90 Metacritic scores because people don't like the ending for some reason. So, you know, everyone will deal with this at some point, even if you make the best games ever. I'm sure Arnie from Naughty Dog has dealt with it at some point and had people wanting to stab him. And, you know, you just can't take it personally, but that is a really, really hard thing to learn, where that I need to take this seriously, but I can't let it affect me and get me down, and it's really, really tough.
It is, it really is. Like, the trolls almost got to be in our community. I was like, oh my god, I just want to kill them all. Yes. Oh my god. Especially like 1 o'clock in the morning, and one of them goes and posts a freaking book and makes a new thread for each page. And this is back when it took 5 minutes to delete one thread. And so it was like, are you serious? There's 45 new threads about this book. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I've been working this entire time. I was about to rage. I wanted to just. Oh my god. I mean, it's even making me like, just Amy. It was.
I got 3 things, so I'll try and be short so you guys can take out your Twitters and post this up already. Number 1, don't be afraid to fail. Just flat out, don't be afraid to fail.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Number 2, it's about the business and the product. It's not about you. Flat out. If you're in this for fame and glory, get out, go home. It's not about that. And number 3, darn.
Yeah, 2 were really awesome.
Yeah.
After 5:30.
Yeah, tweet after 5:30. Don't take it personal, like James said. I mean, you can get bashed at. I've had friends who've had their lives threatened, and people, you know, wishing cancer on their children and whatever. People are going to be, you know, secure behind the safety of their computers, and they're going to say anything they want.
We'll just keep it offline.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, you've seen in the news recently of people, bosses, really, you know, putting their thoughts out there, and it has, you know, now they don't have a job, and so you always have to watch what you say.
Oh, I know. I remember that.
Okay, there we go. Go.
Before you respond, stop before you hit send, and think twice.
Oh, yeah.
Trust me. That's it.
And if you're angry about something, like, you probably should delete the tweet and then go take a little walk around the office, get a drink of water, come back and see how you feel, because angry tweeting is bad.
Yeah, never tweet out emotion, regardless of whether it's, you know, emo or angry, you just broke up, you got dumped on, just walk away.
Yeah, nothing. Do not tweet any kind of emotion.
Now, if it's good news,
Yeah.
but if it's something bad, yeah, walk away. Eat it.
Oh yeah, that's probably the number 1 rule I'd say about anything in the industry. Do not share your emotions and stuff like that, and your opinions, unless if it's bad, don't share it online. Keep it offline.
Kind of think what you guys get to is like one of the things that we deal a lot with is managing expectations, both within the community and yourselves as you're moderating your forums and being the community manager. I mean, you guys speak to that a little bit, Hannah?
Well, I think from my angle, first, it's really different because we had to bring in, we have 10 or 12 different volunteers that help moderate our community, because where you have forums for people to discuss politics, to, you know, games, to, you know, I love Halo, I love Call of Duty, and you just have a lot of opposing opinions butting heads into each other, so it's surrounding yourself with people that can take that objective role and not make it a personal attack and just kind of cool down situations. And I imagine when you're representing company, it becomes a much tougher deal. But for, at least in your own community, surround yourself with people that can take on those roles and empower them to find the right people to empower to do those things.
Yeah, find people in your community that you trust and stuff like that to be kind of like your sidemen, your wingmen throughout it all. And they help take care of certain aspects of it and help you with the community as well.
I think that's, going back to your managing expectations point, that's a tough thing because, there's always this sort of, I want it now, I want it big, my imagination is going to run wild on me, and then my imagination running wild is going to contribute to someone else's imagination running even wilder, and it sort of snowballs and gets away from you, and people are expecting you to announce, like, that your game, removes the need for colonoscopies when you're over there. And then you find out that it was really just a cool little matchmaking feature. So there's always some sort of trying to be very measured, and that's really hard too because you can't comment on everything, because if you comment on everything then people expect it. I don't know. That's like one of the biggest challenges, I think, is when people start to get ahead of themselves or if something's going to suck, like trying to kind of subtly let them know not to get super excited about it is another really hard thing. And you know that a lot of times when you're like, yeah, that didn't turn out the way we wanted to, that's not going to be the coolest thing, and they're kind of excited about it, and you have to start kind of playing that down. And I think it's just very gentle ways to do it, and very subtle ways to do it without, it unfortunately gets really political at some point how you phrase things, but there's ways to do it, and I think it's kind of an important thing because it's always better to beat expectations than to leave people wanting. If people's expectations are too high for something and you don't satisfy it, that's a lot worse than consciously lowering their expectations ahead of time so that they are happily surprised by whatever it is you're showing or the game you're shipping, whatever that might be.
So what James is saying is you got to have faith.
Everybody's gonna have faith.
Yes.
I had a question. I believe it was Alex who was saying you're comparing relationships with people online to books and the movies, how you could be more explanative, I guess, online and such. I was wondering, when it came to where you met people first online and then you went and actually met them in person, did that change the dynamics of your relationships to a more positive note or a negative note?
I think that's a really great question, especially because that usually entails like a convention or a tournament or something involving adult beverages. And so how someone usually acts when you're talking to them online or you're competing with them or you're whatever the case may be, they may not react in the same situation when everybody's running around and drinking and it's like, whoa, you are out of control, sir. I'm not sure how to react to this. And it's definitely been more in the sense of situations that are very unique to personal meetups that you won't, the conversation didn't change, the interaction didn't change, like they were, exactly who I thought they were, but in extenuating situations where it's like, we're gonna go out drinking, or we're gonna go to a nightclub, and there's gonna be a bunch of chicks, and wow, you are a jerk, or like, why did you just say that, or, or they disappear, or whatever those kind of things, and then it gets personal. It's like, I don't really know if I should make sure this person's okay. Should I see if they're in their hotel room? Should I call their mom? Like, you don't know how to react in that very personal sort of kind of scenario because you don't have that interaction. 99% of the time, it's been always super positive. Exactly, it enriched the experience, but in very set cases, it was like, this is super awkward. Like, I can't make a mer face at you, like, /, please stop doing that. Like,
if you look at all the people that I've done this panel with each time, well, even taking today, of everybody here, the only person I met in person first was Fate. I met everybody else. Thanks, 5 minutes, got it. The only person that I met prior to online was Fate, and everybody else I met through Twitter or through some sort of online means first. And I think that seems to be the experience most of you have.
I bring the real life to online.
That's a good thing too. I try and treat people I meet, even if I met them online, like when in person, I just let them be grown-ups, especially when it comes to our community. Like, and they may not be grown-ups, but I just let them, you're grown up enough to come on our community and talk and say whatever you want. You're grown up enough to figure out, how you're going to get here and how you're going to get home and all that sort of stuff to our community day. Or, you know, you're obviously self-reliant enough to get to this point, and I'm going to treat you like an adult and let you do that. And I hope people did that to me when I was a teenager, wandering, sneaking into E3 to make media appointments at booths, and, you know, flying me around and letting me get drunk on company dimes when I was way underage. They treated me like an adult, and I try to do the same.
You've been to an EA event, haven't you?
Oh yeah. EA, Sony, Microsoft, line yards.
You've given lots of good advice, particularly for professional community building. Does all that advice apply, or do you have any specific advice for creating an amateur community just out of the basis of a bunch of people who have one shared interest?
Well, I think, at least in my experience with that, it's never be surprised that there's going to be a whole bunch of people that are either interested in what you're interested in, or in the same demographic you're aiming for, or like tool to play. We started with a small group of like 30 people, and by the end of the first couple months, there were 50 people. And there's no promotion. This is all just word of mouth and people finding people on Xbox Live. And before the end of the first year, it was 500 people, and then 1,000. Now, 6 years in now, we're 30,000 members. So don't be surprised. Treat your community like you treat your family. Just grow it out and bring everybody in, bring them to the fold, and
Yeah.
The basics are the same. It's all about, you know, respect, open lines of communication, finding people with shared interests, giving everyone a voice, and creating cool stuff and reasons for people to come there. Where you differ is you don't maybe have the same resources. So you don't have the money to, you know, do an awesome community day where you pay for everything. You have to have a meetup at a bar where 15 of you are all there, and you split a tab and some asshole doesn't put enough cash into the pot and everything gets screwed. But, you know, it's